My name is Ben Summers, and I'm the Director of Operations for True Ball Release and Excel Sites. And I just want to welcome you all here to our seminar with literally the best of the best that are at this tournament. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming and for giving your time. There are a couple people, including Brandon, the moderator who was supposed to be here tonight, or today, and he's actually in a shoot-off, so you'll have to forgive him for that, but give him a pat on the back as well. So, but anyway, I'll introduce everyone basically by handing the mic down and letting you all introduce yourselves. So, first, Deep Martrillis.
Hi, I'm Deep Martrillis. I guess I've done a few things in the past. World champion winner, World Cup champion winner, Vegas winner, a few other things. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I'm Camilla Simmer, out of Denmark, and I've been around for quite a few years and done a bit of everything as well. Podiumed quite a few times in all kinds of events. And yeah.
Brady Ellison, one of the recurve people up here, and won several World Cup stages and a couple of the World Cup finals, both indoor and out.
Rio Wild, I've won Vegas, I've won Nîmes, I've won World Cup finals, World Championships, so I've been pretty lucky.
Hey, Naomi Folkart, I've won World Games, some medals at European Championships, and other things.
Rick van der Ven, double European champion, that means in the team and individual round, and fourth at the London Olympic Games.
Okay, I hope that you all brought some questions because we're going to open it up right after this, this first question. So be thinking about the question that you'd like to answer, and I'll have you come right up here when it's time. The first question is, what is your personal archery goal that you have or have not yet reached?
Actually, I personally think I've reached every goal that I've ever wanted to. I've reached goals that I didn't think I'd ever reach, so I'm pretty happy. I'd like to continue, you know, winning some tournaments, doing the best I can. Doing the best I can is about the only goal I really have. Thank you.
I think I'm a bit in the same boat when it comes to that. I've never really set myself any direct personal goal that I want to win this tournament. I always just gone out there and done the best that I could and want to do that. Always challenge myself to do better.
One of mine is to win Olympic gold. Haven't done that yet, and then I want to win all the World Championships in a row, indoors field and World Championships.
Mine depend on the year. I would love to win Vegas again to make it 4, since nobody's done that. I'd love to, you know, I kind of set them every year as to what, something I can achieve that maybe hasn't been done before or something else like that. That's just kind of how I work on my year every year.
I'd love to get 1350 or 1360. I've got over 1340 many times and I want to break my barrier. I also want to win an Olympic medal.
Yeah, of course the gold medal at the Olympic Games, and have become world champion on outdoors and also on the indoor championship.
Okay, who has a question? Saw your hand first. Come on up here. Stay right here. You can ask them.
Well, this is a very quick question. It's a yes or no answer. For a good shot, are there any secrets you keep just to yourself?
Okay, he said, for a good shot, are there any secrets that you keep to yourself? Maybe. Do you have that? Do you want to know from anyone in particular?
The whole lot.
Okay.
Yes or no?
No, there's no answers that I keep to myself.
Yes.
Really?
I'm going to have to go with yes on that one too.
There isn't any secrets I keep. If I can help somebody else out shoot better, that's the biggest thing, because I want people to stay in the sport and enjoy it.
Yes.
Well, we'll have to go to no.
Yes, sir. You down front here.
Hi, everyone. What's the best piece of archery-related advice you've ever been given?
Archery literature books.
Archery advice or archery literature that I've ever been given?
Archery-related advice.
Archery-related advice. I've been given a lot of advice in the past. I think the best advice I personally can give is have fun. That's it. Have fun. Don't make it too serious. Have as much fun as you can. The harder you laugh, the better you shoot.
I think that's my main piece of advice as well to everyone out there. Have fun. Enjoy it. The second it's not fun anymore, then you lose the drive.
I think the best piece of advice I ever got was from Butch Johnson, and he told me, when you step to the line, don't suck.
Butch never told me that.
I had another guy one time tell me, kind of a funny one was, if you don't miss, you can't lose. So that's kind of a pretty good one to live by.
I'd ditto Dietmar, just have fun, and then you'll shoot better.
It probably would be shoot in the middle. That's just the main thing. And have fun, of course.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Yeah, I'm interested to know, in the aim, do you focus on the target or do you focus on the sight?
Okay, the question is, do you focus on the target or the sight?
I shoot a dual lens. So basically all I see is the target, and I focus on the target. I find if I shoot a dot and I'm focusing on keeping the dot in the center of the target, I don't make good shots. I make good shots when I can see what I'm aiming at. And I think a lot of people, you know, play peekaboo and things like that. They're looking at the dot, trying to center it in the center of the target, where I'm looking at the center of the target all the time, and it allows me to make much better shots.
I focus on the target, and then I just stare at what I want to shoot or what I want to hit, and then eventually the dot will come in and cover that up, and that's when I'm in the middle.
I mainly focus on the target. I kind of keep my eyes to where both my pin and the target are a little blurry instead of focusing on one or the other. And you know, my focus is at the target, but I'm aware of where my pin is too, so I'm kind of doing both at the same time.
Mine's mainly on the target. My dot actually sits a little in my peripheral vision, and we've tried different colors of dots, and to me a lot of them just seem gray because it's just in that other part of my vision.
I focus on the target, and when I'm shooting I really don't think about where I'm aiming. I don't think about the aiming process at all. That just happens on its own, and I concentrate on the shot.
I will have to go with Brady on this one. I focus on both.
Okay, this one's my question. What do you do different from anyone else in archery? Like, how do you maybe differ from what your coach teaches you?
Well, first off, I don't have a coach. I'm being deemed uncoachable. What do I do different? I don't know.
You are different.
Yeah, apparently I am different. Mr. Rio said so. I try to keep it simple. I try not to overcomplicate things. I see a lot of people overcomplicating the sport. Bottom line is, you know, if you look at it realistically, it's a stick and a string. And the more complicated you make it, the harder you make it to climb that mountain. And the simpler you make it, deal with what you can deal with. You know, the one thing that's totally controllable is your equipment. Make sure your equipment is controlled, tuned to the nines. And the other two factors, nerves and conditions, are very difficult to deal with, and you deal with them as you come across it. Just simplify it, and you probably will become a better archer.
I think one of the things that makes me different from many others is that I'm probably as stubborn as someone can get. And And I think that's one of the main things you find about top archers. They are the most stubborn people on earth. Yeah, Mr. Rio. I don't give up. And if something is difficult, I get even more stubborn and tell myself it can't be happening. It can't be right. And then knuckle down and, yeah, never give up.
You know, it's kind of a tough question. I don't really know if I do anything particularly different than anyone else. I know that I do adjust things on the fly all the time, and I'm not scared to change clicker or form or a feeling in the middle of a round or tournament. If I'm not feeling like I'm shooting the way I need to, or my bow's not shooting the way I want to on that given day, yeah, I'll tear it apart and change it right there. Change something in the middle of a ranking round or whatever to try to get to where my bow and I feel like we're connected and shooting good.
I honestly don't know that I do anything any different than anybody else. Because everybody, I mean, if you listen to most archers, we do a lot of the same. And so to say that I do something different, I don't know. I know that I'm a lot like Brady. I change stuff all the time. You know, I want to find what's the best, but other than that, I would say, you know, I mean, guys work hard, I work hard. I would say there's not a lot that I do different than anybody else.
I don't think I do anything different to everyone else, really. I move my clicker probably every other day, where I know people are very stubborn and keep it in the same place all the time. I just shoot as well as I can, like everyone else.
The one thing I probably will do really different than other people will be the fingers of my bow end. If you see a picture of me shooting, you will get the point.
Okay, any more questions? Yes, sir.
Does buying really expensive equipment actually help?
Yes. It doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt. I think getting the best of the best, I learned this a long time ago. I used to be into competitive rifle shooting and competitive skiing, and I've always done it in such a way that get the best, forget the rest, and then the onus is on you. And you can't blame the equipment. When you have the best of something, or reasonably the best of something, you can't say it's my equipment. Not with a clear head. You basically have to look in the mirror and go, okay, there's something going on here and I need to fix it. It's within me. That's why getting the best of the equipment can help your confidence.
I grew up having to pay for all my equipment myself. And I realized really fast, my hard-earned, saved up pennies, that I could save up and go out and buy something and buy the first thing I could afford. Or I could save up another 6 months and buy something that was a lot better. I always ended up going out buying the first thing I could, and then after I got it, I realized that that was pretty dumb because now I wanted the better thing. So I had to save up even more and more and more to get the better and better and better. So eventually I learned that for me, saving up that much more money and then getting the thing that you really want and not do a compromise on that helped me a great deal because yeah, eventually, sooner or later, if you want to pursue it further and further, you will end up spending that much more money on the extra and better equipment, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with them. Generally, when you're spending all that money, you're getting top grade stuff, so it's going to be more consistent, it's going to last longer. And if you go out there and buy top line stuff and it lasts you 5-6 years, you know, or more, then that's going to be better off than buying something that's half as much that breaks on you and you're going to have to go buy it again, so you end up spending the same amount. And generally, like all the top dollar stuff, you're buying higher quality, so it's going to be more consistent, you're going to shoot better too.
I agree that most of the time the higher end product is worth every dollar. I mean, there's a reason why it's usually that price. I would say if you look at anybody up here, they can shoot anything they want. I mean, and the funniest comment I always get is, well, somebody pays you this much or does it. You know what? Most of us are to a point now, every company will pay you. it's a matter of what you believe in and what you want to shoot and what, you know, is good. And so if it costs more and that's what you believe in, it'll help you more than anything in the world. And that, to me, that's probably the biggest thing you can get away from that.
I would always choose the best equipment that I can to shoot, and then I know that if something's gone wrong, it's my own fault.
It will help you shoot better, but at the end it's still the person using the equipment that's doing the shooting and not the equipment, so the first thing would be shooting better at yourself.
Anyone else?
Quiet group.
Okay, Brady, I noticed you have Olympic ring tattoos. I also noticed on a lot of pictures on Facebook that there are a lot of people who have little trinkets or things that they keep on their quiver or on their bow to just kind of remind them of home or something like that. Do you have anything like that that reminds you of home or reminds you of anyone that kind of takes a little pressure off?
I used to drag around a rubber chicken. And I used to hang it from my tripod. And actually that represented, you know, keep it light, keep it happy, joke around. And then I was told by some field judge that it was not appropriate, so the rubber chicken doesn't come with me anymore. That's all I had that I was really dragging around. Thank you.
The only thing I really have that I'm dragging around, and I don't know if it's right to say, but it's but no, it's a bunny foot. And the thing is, I ate the bunny myself, so.
I don't really think I have anything that I drag around with me or anything that goes in my quiver that's really special. It just kind of collects different trash along from tournament to tournament. At the end of the season, you end up with about 15 target numbers and rankings and stuff that you just kind of stack up. So I guess that's about the only thing that I keep around. I don't really have any little things or anything like that that I put on my quiver or carry with me.
I'm with Brady. I really don't have anything that is hanging off there that's too sentimental, because I've had things fall off and everything like that, so I don't try not to do that. But all in all, there's really nothing that I carry that is that way.
I've got a necklace that my parents bought me before I went to my first Olympics, and I've worn it pretty much every day since then.
I don't carry around things that reminds me of certain things, but I just put things on my quiver that I like, and it just makes me happy, that kind of stuff.
I can imagine that this crowd wants to know some dirty secrets about practicing. Okay, so tell us how often you practice, and how often you practice, and what is the most effective thing you do during practice?
Okay, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really practiced much in the last couple of months, the last 3 months. Life got in the way. When I do practice, I'm fortunate, especially with outdoors, I can walk like 50 feet across the road out my front door, and I have 2 90-meter ranges, and I don't practice, I don't score per se. I know some of the other people here, they keep track of their scores. My score is tallied in my head. It automatically is. I know what my score is. I know when I'm shooting 36 arrows at 90 meters. After I shoot 36 arrows, I know exactly what my score is. I even know my X count. It's just an automatic reflex. It's something you don't have to write down on paper. I know when I'm shooting good and I'm not shooting good. I try to keep my practice light. You know, I know when I'm shooting good. I know what my score is, and I know when I can do better, and when I start pushing myself a little harder. That's basically what I do. I try to keep practice and light, and I really try to keep practice to be fun. You know, enjoying it. One of the things that I really ultimately love is shooting an arrow, and I practice at 90 meters now, even though our format is 50 meters. I shoot at 90 meters. Actually, not even 90. I shoot 100 yards even. And I stand there, and there's something about watching an arrow float through the air and hit the center of the target, and it just brings a smile to my face. That's sort of my practice.
My practice is, I practice as much as I can. I'm working every day, so I don't have the same amount of time as everyone else maybe have. The rest of the top shooters. So when I go shoot, I make sure that I go shoot. I leave the day I gone to, I leave that behind and I just go down and shoot. I might only have an hour, but I make sure that that hour is quality. I just don't go down there and just turn off the brain and just fling arrows without achieving anything. Make sure that every arrow counts and make sure that every arrow is the best you can make it, even at practice, and then it will transform itself into tournaments as well.
I generally practice, I try to shoot 6 days a week, or as much as I can, especially when we're traveling and stuff, but I don't really set like I have to shoot this much every day or this many arrows. I generally shoot until I lose control of a good shot. I've had days where my body's feeling good and I'm shooting good and I shoot 10, 11 hours and just take a couple of breaks when I get tired or hungry. I've had other times where after 3 hours, for some reason it's just not clicking and I'm not shooting good and I put the bow down. So for me it's just kind of however long that I'm maintaining a good shot and shooting good is how long I shoot. And you know, generally it's, I can shoot about 5-6 hours a day.
I try to practice every day. It's kind of one of the things like, something weird in my head that if I'm not shooting, somebody else is. And do I want to give them that advantage? Probably not. And it depends on the round that I'm getting ready for, is what I'm doing. Vegas rounds or this round. I try to shoot a minimum of 3 to 4 games of what I got coming up, because that way I'll come over and practice, and then I'll shoot the round that I'm trying to shoot, and then I'm not tired. Because I see a lot of guys, hey, I shoot the same amount of rounds I'm going to shoot. And by the time we're done, they've practiced, they've done this, they've changed their whole routine, where I try to keep everything as much as normal and everything like that. So that's kind of the way I do my practice.
I generally shoot 1,200 to 1,500 hours a week, 5 or 6 days a week. Before a competition, I'll have a couple of sessions where I'm shooting in the same speed as I would during the competition. So for Vegas in a couple of weeks' time, that is so slow. So I might shoot every other round at practice. I always start and finish a session shooting front pass, so you can really focus on the feeling of the shot, and then you're more likely to finish the session shooting really good shots.
I train normally about 6 times a week for 1.5 to 2 hours, and it's all focused on quality, so I score a lot because that keeps me sharp, and I'm not up into the whole arrow count thing. That's mainly my main focus for competition.
Well, I kind of grew up in archery, traveling to archery tournaments and actually working at the T.R.U. Excel booth. And one day I noticed a young man and his dad come up, and we signed him up for our shooter program. And he kept coming back to our trailer and trying new releases and trying new releases. At that time he shot compound, but that man is right here. Anyway, one thing I'd like to know from you guys is, if you were to see that young man or that young lady, what would you tell them? What secret would you tell someone who's just getting into the sport as a beginner that will help them one day achieve an Olympic medal?
Well, I can't talk for the Olympic medal, but I help a lot of people out. I meet a lot of parents with young kids, and it goes back to an answer that I gave you guys earlier. Have fun, enjoy yourself. Make this about being fun. Don't stand there saying you've got to be the best. That'll happen by itself. Just enjoy yourself. I help a lot of kids out. I give them releases. I've given bows to kids because I see their enthusiasm, and it actually makes me tear up when I see that. I think it's a wonderful thing, seeing the enthusiasm. I don't like seeing the kids that, you know, I want to be a world champion one day. No, that'll come by itself. Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I also, one advice I usually give, especially young, very enthusiastic kids, is be patient. It will come. If you expect it to come tomorrow, you will be very disappointed, and you will end up feeling like a failure. Be patient, it will come.
Yeah, I agree, Dietmar. The biggest thing is that archery is a great family, and we do the sport because of that, and the camaraderie we get with all these guys, and it's fun. And you know, that's the biggest thing I like to tell young kids is have fun. You know, it's what we're here for. Is you're in the archery family now, and you have fun. And just like anything else, the more work you put in it, the more time you put in it, the better you become. You know, it doesn't matter what sport you're doing, the more time and stuff you put into it, the better you become. So, you know, the harder you work at it, the better you get, the faster you'll get better. But it's always the same thing. Is the most important thing is to have fun.
I agree a lot with Brady. The whole thing is that to have a great time. I mean, I tell kids to enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to want to do it. And archery is great for the fact that if you work hard, it will be rewarding. I've never seen anyone that's worked hard or practiced hard and not done well. And so to me, I think that's a great part of archery. And so, but you got to keep it lighthearted and enjoy it, or it will burn you out and you'll hate it. And so that's the biggest thing I tell them is enjoy it, because it can be bad or really good depending on how your attitude is about it.
I would say have fun, like everyone else here said. Set yourself goals so that you can monitor your progress, and then that will give you inspiration to keep going and encouragement. One for the parents, back off. Let your kids enjoy themselves.
Well, Naomi just told everything I wanted to tell, so I don't have really anything to add to what the other guys told just before me.
Okay, I'll be asking the audience more questions after this one, so be thinking about what you want to ask these pros. But anyway, the next question is for recurve shooters. How old were you when you first drew a recurve bow, and how long did it take before you made the national team?
Let's see, the first time I had ever shot a Olympic recurve was in the summer of 2005, and I thought it was about the dumbest thing I'd ever done. My fingers hurt, I shot like crap, and I just didn't enjoy it. But a couple of the coaches that were at this camp said that I should pick one up and that I might one day become competitive. So I got one and I started shooting, it was early in 2006, and I was on the national team by the end of the year.
The first time I had a go was in 1988, but I hated it, it was awful. But unfortunately my dad thought it was really good, so he joined the club, and then it was a couple of years later before I started shooting properly. And it was in 1996 that I first made the junior national team.
I started with archery at 8 years old, and it was immediate recurve because compound wasn't really that popular at the local clubs. And the first time I made the junior national team was when I was 16, because I was really focused on indoor shooting, because also our club didn't have an outdoor range to motivate people to shoot outdoors. So I was really late compared to my other teammates.
Oh, and one thing too, I did shoot competitive compound before I picked up a recurve, so I was already in the sport for a while. So I picked up a
Okay, anyone else have a question? Yes, sir.
Brady, how the hell did you shoot with a broken arm?
He wants to know how Brady shot with a broken arm.
Well, I broke the right here in my hand, and luckily the training center, the girl that runs our sports medicine, Hannah there, she her background was specializing in cast for athletes, and she built a cast that would let my hand heal but I could still compete in, and just kind of cowboyed up and gritted my teeth and did it. It didn't feel good, but you have to compete still.
Anyone else?
Come on, there's gotta be 100 questions.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a dumb one.
Come on up.
What do you think is more important and why? Being mentally strong or having perfect technique?
They said, what's more important, being mentally strong or having perfect technique?
I would think the mental strength is a little bit more important than the technique, but the technique definitely is a big part of it as well. And a lot of luck. Luck is really good.
Well, I would say look down the shooting line and then try and find two archers that have the same technique and same form. That's virtually impossible. What makes a really good shooter is his ability to stay focused and his mental game, and then his ability to do the same each and every time. It doesn't matter how you make the arrows fly down there, as long as you can repeat it over and over and over and over again. That's what makes you good.
Yeah, I agree with these guys. Mental toughness, I think, is everything in our sport. Technique will definitely help you be consistent and stuff, but if you don't have a mental game, then when it comes to pressure situations, it'll fall apart.
I would say mental is about 90-some% of it. I shot with a guy today that I know in practice will shoot scores that'll blow everybody's minds, but he gets in situations and beats himself up mentally. And I think that's just such a big part of this sport is how mentally strong you are.
Mental strength is definitely more important. You can be shooting really, really good and then come to the competition, and if you don't have that mental strength, there's no point in having really good technique.
I will go for mental strength because that will keep you focused on your technique in stressful situations and will help you shoot better.
Can you define mental strength more?
What's that?
Can you define mental strength more? What do you mean? What is it you're talking about?
Mental strength. Like for me, mental strength is, being able to keep a short memory if you shoot a bad shot or something like that, letting it go. Being able to keep your mind where it needs to be every single shot, being disciplined. If you have a bad thought come into your head or any thought that's not supposed to be there, being able to let down and refocus, being able to step up to an occasion if you have to, making yourself shoot better on occasions when you have to, pushing yourself. When you have a bad day, to still be able to go out there and keep shooting. Just that grit and that will to not give up no matter what the conditions are, and just always push.
A lot of that probably better.
Yeah, I don't think it can be explained better than that.
Who else?
Come on, I know there's 100.
Yes, sir, right there. I've just started shooting compound about 12 months ago, and I've got a trigger release aid, but in trying to improve, how would you go about choosing different styles of release aid to that?
What kind of trigger?
I'm a trigger shooter. Yeah.
I shoot a bunch of them. One of the reasons I shoot the release that I do, wrist strap trigger you're talking about?
No, sorry, just
thumb button.
Thumb button, yeah.
Okay. One of the reasons most people choose the release they choose, first of all, is because they were influenced when they got into the sport. People would hand them and say, "This is the release to use." I use a wrist strap. I also shoot a back tension. I also shoot a thumb button. Okay. I shoot a wrist strap for one reason. I feel more confident with it. It's like a pair of shoes. It's like your favorite pair of shoes or your favorite pair of track pants. They're really comfortable. That's why I shoot the release I shoot. I'm sure some of the other people shoot the releases that they shoot for the same reason. It's a confidence thing. If you shoot a release long enough and you get used to it and you learn how to use it properly, where you can even manipulate it to make it go off when you want it to go off or when you need it to go off, that's what's important.
I agree a lot. It's got to be what you have confidence in, and what works best for you. Because I mean, like I shot with a trigger release when I first started, and got target panic really bad with it, and I had to go to a back tension to help me get through it. And now that I learned how to shoot a back tension properly, I can shoot a button, I can shoot a back tension, I can shoot any one of them and feel confident in it. So, anybody else? Come on. Yeah, a million.
With recurve shooting, is there kind of any particular style? Because you see a lot of archers obviously sling the bow around the hand, etc. release. Is that a benefit, or is it just as good to kind of just let it rock forward into the sling? Is there any particular technique that's trained or taught?
Like for me, and what I've been taught and told is, you know, our bows all jump and rock forward because of mainly how our stabilizers are set up. A lot of people have a real heavy front end on their stabilizer, and that's what causes the bow to rock. You know, none of us try to grip our bows, just let the bow jump and do what it does. I don't know, I don't really do it, but a lot of people, you know, they'll flip their hand down right as they release to try to keep balance, I guess, to make sure that the front and back is staying the same. But, you know, it's really, I find is I just let the bow jump out and kind of do whatever it does. My bow kind of sits and doesn't really rock forward, but it's because of how my stabilizers are.
What you said.
Okay, we had two other questions here. Yes, sir.
This is for Brady. What is the LAN 2 and how do you use it?
Oh yes, that's a good question.
Repeat the question, Brady?
Yeah.
Repeat the question.
Okay, he asked, what is the LAN 2 and how do you use it? The LAN 2 isn't a muscle, it's an area, and it's in the back of the shoulder. So it's like, it's in here and kind of like all this back shoulder muscle here, and it's that area. And it's not, you don't try to tighten that or activate that because it's a group of muscles. It's more based on you're trying to move that area. And so like when you set up, that's kind of the area you want to lead your shot. It'll bring your elbow around. When you release, it'll help everything come, you know, around better. And you really just want to focus on leading that area around your whole entire shot. And if you try to tighten that up, generally you'll get a break in your joint and start using your biceps. So you just try to keep all your attention and focus on that area coming around. And that's kind of what the LAN 2 is in that area. So in like Coach Lee's book, when he's talking about that, it's not necessarily those specific muscles, but that area, and the focus needs to be on that area in the movement. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Moving on from that, angular draw, what does that mean?
Oh, angular draw. So, like linear versus angular. Linear is a lot more bicep and hand, and so when your elbow comes, it'll literally come straight back and then pinch here, and generally your elbow stays outside of the string, whereas angular movement is leading more with the back and having your elbow, instead of like, say this is the elbow, instead of having it come straight back when you draw back, kind of starts more and then rotates this way, and that's being led here. So instead of like having something like that, instead of having something come like that, where that's more linear, angular will come more around, where this sets back this way. And so that's kind of difference is a movement more like this compared to that.
Did that answer your question?
It does. It's different from books. You can see it really.
Yes, sir.
Do you have, for recurve archers, do you have any tips on improving your strength and endurance? I shoot quite a lot. I shoot 5 to 6 times a week, but I feel that I'm not really, my endurance isn't increasing particularly quickly.
I'm going to start down here with Rick.
The main strength I get is just by shooting my bow. Maybe a bow that's a bit more higher in poundage than your regular competition bow could help, but most of the time it's just by shooting more. And physical endurance is just by doing running or bicycling.
Yeah, probably bike.
I use a full master to do reversals for half an hour a day. I did them a lot when I was a junior and didn't have the time to shoot. So if I don't get to shoot a lot in a day, then I would definitely do reversals.
One thing Coach Lee had us do is like SPT drills. I don't know what that actually stands for. We call it severe physical torture. One of them for like what's really good for endurance is you like watch the second hand on a clock and draw back and hold as long as you can with proper technique, and then take twice that amount break. So say if you can hold for 15 seconds, then when you let down, rest for 30 seconds and then draw back again for as long as you can. And generally what we did is we got to the point where we'd hold back for 30 seconds and not shake, and then you get a minute break and you do that for an hour straight. Yeah, and we actually got to the point where we put stretch bands on our bows, and there was a point in time where we weighed my bow and I was at 63 pounds, and we do that exercise for an hour.
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Can you repeat that?
I've seen this on YouTube. Can you actually shoot an arrow through a door hole?
Yeah, on the sports science, right? Yeah, no, we actually did do that. The donut hole took me 3 shots. When I shot the rubber band hanging from the apple, that took me 2. And believe it or not, when I shot through the spinning CD, I did that on the first take. Yeah, I laughed hysterically because I shot and the CD was still spinning, and I know I didn't hit the speed. I know I didn't miss bad enough to miss a whole CD, so my arrow just had to go right through the middle of it, and I just started busting up laughing because I was shocked.
Anyone else? Yes, sir, right here.
Is it better for the longer distances to have really, really light arrows, or to have arrows that have a bit of weight to them?
That's a good question. There's always the argument, speed, you know, a faster setup or a slower setup, you know, heavier arrows. I shoot X10s, and I mean, they are what they are. They're small, they're heavy, and they're the best in the wind. I prefer a slower arrow, heavier arrow, and for me it shoots more accurate and better in the wind.
We've done some experimenting with that mass versus speed, and yeah, dynamic mass, equal diameters, is better in the wind than shooting something light. So, and you can see that if you go outside and you take 2 pieces of, you know, a straw and a piece of doweling or whatever, and you toss it a ping pong ball and a golf ball. All right, I used to tell people, I used to ask people this: if you had an opportunity to get a golf ball or a ping pong ball between the eyes at 100 miles an hour or a golf ball at 60 miles an hour, which one would you pick? The golf ball isn't slowing down. The ping pong ball is going to bounce off and leave a little welt. Okay, mass over speed is what we found, especially in the wind. But there is such a thing as too heavy, because you have to reach the target.
Can you guys add, what about vanes versus feathers in wind in situations where you are at long distances?
For outdoors, I would never use feathers. Feathers is a big vane that is taking a lot of, if you shoot it outdoors, it takes a lot of drift, and it's, yeah. You want on the little skinny arrows you shoot outdoors, you want a little skinny vane. On the indoor arrows, yeah, there's an ongoing battle between feathers and plastic vanes, and no one seems to be able to come up with one argument over the other.
One of the reasons a lot of people use feathers for indoors is they're using severely overspined arrows, okay, and they're trying to stabilize the arrow flight. And the feather actually, on a slower moving arrow, acts like a bit of a parachute, and it stabilizes the arrow a lot better. On outdoor arrows, you're usually tuning a properly spined arrow to your setup, to your bow, so you don't need as much correction on an outdoor arrow with a properly spined arrow as you do it with an indoor arrow. With the indoor arrows, we're using either vanes or feathers. I've experimented with both. I actually have found over the last couple of years, actually longer than the last couple of years, a good vane actually has outperformed feathers for me. They stay more consistent, they don't get damaged as easily. And they're just as forgiving.
You've tried that too, haven't you, Rio?
Oh yeah, I love Rio.
I still can't say that one is definitely better than the other. I've tried them both. I do believe, because I travel so much, that it's nicer for a vane to go in my bag and travel because it doesn't get beat up as much. I mean, I have shot some that look really bad feathers that still grouped okay, but as for vanes, they seem to travel better, and that's the biggest thing why indoors I've ran them over that.
Anybody?
Let me ask a question real quick and then I'll get to yours. Rio, what kind of release aid do you choose, and do you use different types in different conditions?
I use the HT Pro, the brass. I really like it. I have done them before, tried different ones in different conditions, and it usually ends up worse than what it probably should have been. So the biggest part with the releases to me is get it to become as comfortable and used to what you're used to doing, so it's second nature. You know, I mean, I know guys say, oh, I changed to a button or I did this, and it just never works out well, what I've seen, so that's just where I found.
And I'm gonna get to 2 more questions because these guys got to go shoot. So, especially Brady, he shot a 593 with 9 or 7 9s. Am I right? Yeah. And he's tied with another one of our shooters, Chef Vandenberg. So, congratulations on great shooting this weekend. But so 2 more questions, and you had one of them.
If you had to dedicate all of your success to one person, who would it be and why?
Question is, if you could dedicate all of your success to one person, who would it be and why?
Wow. Jack Daw. Nobody here knows him. He was a redneck from a local club that I joined because I got my first bow and I was going to go deer hunting, and I started shooting 3D. And he was so hard on me. Hard on me every single day. He tried to break me down, and I was so stubborn, I was just not going to break down. He probably taught me the most in archery, or at least to be tough.
Well, it would be my dad, because when I grew up flinging arrows, shooting a bow, thinking it was all great and wonderful, being a little kid as I was, he would always be there. He would drive me to every tournament I wanted to go to. He would spend every hour he could just being there. He would never push me. He never tell me anything. He would just always be there for me.
You know, it's such a tough question. I'm sure we all have so many people that just help us and influence us. You know, friends, family, and everything. But I think ultimately for me, you know, I have to thank the Lord. I think he put me here to shoot a bow, and I give all my success and everything to him.
I got a lot of them. I mean, my dad helped me a lot get started. If it wasn't for him putting a bow in my hand, I probably would have never done it. And then I would say over the last few years, it's my wife. She's the most supportive person I know, and she does a lot to help me get to where I am. And if it wasn't for her, I would not be doing this what I do now. So.
I'm going to be greedy and say 2 people. Barry and June, they were a married couple. They were my coaches from when I was about 10 years old. And they taught me nearly everything I know, and they were amazing. But they died a couple of years ago.
It will probably be my parents, because when you start with archery I was 8 years old, and I obviously couldn't get to the archery range at my own or the competitions. And if your parents aren't bringing you there, then you probably aren't going to make it in any kind of sport. So if your parents aren't supporting you, that's be a problem, I think.
Okay, final question. Yes, ma'am.
Indoors, fat or thin arrows? What's your preference? Which do you think is better? Compound or recurve? Both actually.
So indoors, fat or thin arrows, compound or recurve?
Fat or thin doesn't matter. Properly spined, forgiving, tuned properly will always get you a lot further than a fat shaft. I see people go to Vegas every year and they're using 27 diameter arrows. They're not forgiving, they don't shoot well off of certain people's bows, but yet they use them anyways, and they stand there and they wonder, gee, I made a good shot and that didn't hit. Use a properly spined arrow, it'll get you a lot further, and it doesn't really matter what the diameter is. I see scores here, and I see scores all over Europe. 599, Christopher Perkins, 599, inner 10, world record, shot with a 9.3 diameter arrow. Okay? I don't know of many people that are shooting those scores with the fat arrows. They're not shooting perfect scores with the fat arrows. Properly spined arrow. It's more forgiving.
Yeah, I would also say, my experience, I would always pick the fattest arrow I can get that will tune. I will not just go big just to go get the biggest and the better, because yeah, if it do not tune out to your bow, to your setup, it will be a lot less forgiving than if you get a thinner arrow that will spine out right.
On the recurve side, I feel it's a little bit different. I try aluminums every year, and they're spined out right, and I can shoot good scores with them, but I'll still have question arrows, an arrow that shouldn't miss it, I feel like it does, and when I shoot X10s, it doesn't happen that way. When I miss with an X10, I know why. And but X10s are also designed for a finger shooter and a recurve shooter, and I think that's why they shoot better than aluminums, and that's just what I found.
I go with the biggest ones I can get to work. I shot the record at Vegas for the longest time with 23s and losing the shoot-off, so it drove me crazy. So when the 27s come out, they shot really good for me. I come up with a combination that made them in my spine deal, and it worked really well. So, and it just depends on what event you're at. So the biggest legal ones you can get to work is always what I found works best.
I've tried aluminiums. It's really difficult, I find, to get them to tune, where X10s are a lot easier. And the wild arrows that you get with the aluminiums drive me crazy. And I don't like the feel of the shot when I shoot aluminiums either. So altogether, the X10s are definitely better for me.
Also, I've tried aluminum arrows, but they are very difficult to get them right. And if I make a mistake with the fat arrows, they probably would be a 9 or an 8, definitely. And with the thin X10s, I can still make a 10 out of it, so I will definitely go for the X10s.
Okay, well, thank you all very much for coming. They will be up here for a little bit. You'll have to give them a little bit of time here. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes they'll be here for talking with you individually, but please be mindful that they do have shoot-offs coming up very soon. So thank you very much, and hope to see you again next year in the